Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 307 International. My name's Costa, coming to you with a special episode today, profiling our new striker, Mehdi TAREMI. I hope I'm pronounced that right. I've got a special guest coming on from the EVER Food podcast. Nima is joining me today. Nima is the right man to talk to when it comes to Mehdi TAREMI. Nima, you were born in Iran. I think you got an Iran kit on as well right now. Thanks for coming on, mate. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast.
Yeah, it's called the Italian Football Podcast at EVER Foot Pod on all social media platforms and YouTube. I'm a football journalist covering Italian football for 12 years. I started it's more than that. It's 13 and a half years, actually. It's 2012. Years keep adding up. I started sempreinter.com, which is the world's biggest English news site covering Inter, and then I've covered Italian football for various outlets as a freelancer and independent journalist for everyone from goal.com to Gianluca Di Marzio and Football Italia. And the Italian Football Podcast is obviously the English, the podcast of Football Italia, the official podcast of Football Italia. So I'm like you said, I was born in Iran, came to Sweden as a refugee at the age of 3. And have a burning passion for the Iranian national team and some Iranian players, not all. But Mehdi TAREMI obviously is probably my favorite player to come out of Iran of the last 15 years.
Amazing. So you answered one of my questions there. It's Mehdi TAREMI.
Mehdi TAREMI. Yeah, Mehdi TAREMI. Yeah.
Because everyone's calling him TAREMI.
Yeah. Oh, it's TAREMI. It's a long R in Farsi.
TAREMI. Okay, perfect. Before we get into the player, can I ask you why Inter? Like for you, why? What took you to them?
I was just before I had turned 8 years old. I'm born in June, but in May of '89, Inter dei Record, the Inter side of Giovanni Trapattoni, led by Lothar Matthäus and Andy Brehme, Nicola Berti, Riccardo Ferri, Mandorlini, and many, many more, Serena, etc., etc. They won the Serie A in record-breaking fashion, hence Inter dei Record, the record-breaking Inter side, who secured the 13th Serie A title in the club's history against reigning champions Diego Armando's Napoli at the San Siro. And that was the first club game that I saw live on TV, I think, as it was back then. No, it wasn't, but it was the first Italian club that I saw live on TV. My aunt was married to a German man at the time. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. And we watched that game together. Inter won 2-1. Lothar Matthäus scoring the winner off a rebound off his own free kick. And I fell in love with that Inter, from Zenga in goal to Brehme, Mandorlini, like I said, Lothar Matthäus, and so on. So it was Inter for me from then on.
Who's your favorite Inter player of all time?
It has to be, I think, Walter Zenga has a very special place in my heart. Lothar Matthäus. I'd say those are probably the ones that I've really, Brehme, that Inter side that made me an Interista, when I was 8-9 years old. It's funny, childhood heroes have this kind of almost superhero-like aura in one's mind when one looks back. So I'd say, most of those players in that Inter side, and many of whom I've been lucky enough to be able to interview as a journalist later on as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. And as you probably remember, there's been quite a lot of comings and goings between Olympiacos and Inter over the years, whether it was Grigoris Gorgatos back in the day going from Olympiacos to Inter. He had 2 stints at Inter, didn't he? He came the first season, he was feeding crosses to Vieri all the time. Vieri then said, I want him back. And then Hector Cooper was the manager. Hector Cooper fell out with him. Yorgatos went to Olympiacos, then he went back to AEK, then back to Olympiacos again. Esteban Cambiaso is a player that we've shared.
Yeah,
Labros.
Cambiaso is a legend. He's an Inter legend. When together with Zanetti, that Inter side, it's those two. I mean, he's an Inter legend. Very beloved. Very beloved.
Zanetti, for me, if you talk football and you ask me to tell you my favorite, let's say, starting 11, Zanetti's my right back. All the time. Got a lot of respect and appreciation for that player, and Inter as well.
Yeah.
But the people want to know more about Mehdi, the striker that we've signed from you, a reported 2.5 million fee to Inter. He had 2 years left on his contract. When I say the name, like what does Mehdi Taremi mean to you as a football?
To Iranian football, I'd say, based on his accomplishments alone, the level that he has played at, consistently, the accolades, the achievements as a starting player, that makes him, in my opinion, the best ever Iranian football player. I think there have been players throughout Iran's history who have technically been more gifted, but no one has achieved at that high level that he has achieved and played at for such a long time. So I'd say, for me, he's the best Iranian football player of all time, up until maybe he came to Inter, which I think is of course there was a decline there, but there were also other factors involved. And that's why he leaves after only 1 year.
Okay, that's I didn't know that he was at Inter for only one season. Now, you mentioned a bit of a drop-off or a decline, but before that, we're talking about a player essentially who's a bit of a late bloomer, right? He made a name for himself playing for Persepolis FC in Iran. I mean, looking at the guy's stats, the guy's got more than 200 goals, career goals, more than 100 assists. So he's not just a goal scorer. He can create for his teammates as well.
He's a team player, and he's always been a late bloomer. He is a late bloomer, but he's always been a bit of an unpolished diamond until Sergio Conceição got his hands on him at Porto. That's when he really excelled, and Sergio Conceição turned him into the complete striker, target man, goal poacher, goal scorer, link-up player, assist man. All of those things, all those aspects of his game really bloomed through at Porto under Sergio Conceição, and he was very loved at Porto. When he left, it was painful for the fans and for him. He won everything in Portugal there, both individually and as a part of a team. He is a team player. He's very much about the team, about whatever he needs to do to help the team. Some would say perhaps that at Inter he was a little bit too not like the opposite of selfish, in the sense that he didn't, in Italy, especially at the big clubs, at the Inters, the Juves, the Milans, strikers are judged on how many goals they score. And he didn't score that many goals. He didn't do that many assists. There's certain explanations to that. A lot of that is also because Inter last season they got the preseason wrong with an aging team, which meant that it was the first time anyone had ever had an 11-month-long season, and he and everyone else were overworked the preseason, which is why they looked as sluggish as Inter did throughout the entire season. They never really got going. They looked really, really, really tired from match day one. He did well at preseason, then he got that injury, and it's pubalgia, which meant that he was essentially injured for the rest of the year. He was playing with painkillers. He was in a lot of pain. Which meant that many times when called upon, he was playing on painkillers and he wasn't really fit. And many times when he should have been called upon, he was injured and couldn't play. And some of the times when he was called on, he just wasn't good enough. And you could tell that it was getting on his, it was impacting his self-confidence. It was impacting his belief in himself, which was a new situation for him, because up until that point in his career, he'd just been, you know, upwards and onwards. But here at Inter, it was a little bit of a perfect storm, not just for him, but for many players at Inter, all of Inter entirely, which might sound strange given that Inter came to the Champions League final. But they didn't win anything. It was an Inter that limped to the Champions League final. Yes, the greatest ever semi-final against Barcelona. You know, the match against Bayern Munich.
He's got the assist on the last goal, I think, too.
Yes, against for Fratesi, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, for Fratesi. It was a strange season for Inter, and this is how it is at these clubs, at Inter, Milan, Juve. You know, you have to deliver. Darko Panchev in the 80s, 90s came to Inter as a European champion from Red Star Belgrade, a star of Red Star Belgrade. Was one of the biggest flops in Inter's history. Didn't work out for him, obviously for different reasons, but that's just how it is at these big clubs in Italy. You have to deliver. You don't get that many chances, and he was unable to. And he wasn't alone, but there were extenuating circumstances, and some of it were his fault. He looked a little bit scared, but he's not the first, nor is he the greatest player to have choked at the San Siro. The San Siro is a special place. It's killed many a career. It's a heavy shirt. In Italy, they say that Milan, Inter, and Juve shirts are heavy shirts. Is an Italian phrasing, and I'd say it's different to do it there than it is anywhere else in Italy, or even in many other clubs in many other countries. Inter and Milan, Juve have it's a special place, and the San Siro crowd especially have broken many a player.
I mean, you mentioned heavy shirts, and obviously, okay, on the one hand, you're talking Serie A, and over here we're talking Greek Super League, but of course, Olympiacos is a European club. We've put our mark in Europe more recently as well with the Conference League. We're back in the Champions League after 5 years. Our last appearance was in 2020 with Pedro Martins as our manager. Were you surprised to see him make this choice? Remind me, he's 33 years of age. I mean, I don't believe in, you know, I don't look at the age. I think that if you perform, you still see in Italy in particular, there are players that are 37, 38. They're still playing, and they're, you know, at a high level. So his age doesn't concern me. But were you surprised to see him make the choice to join Olympiacos? And, you know, what do you think about that, considering there was talk about interest from PSV Eindhoven, a team that we're going to face in the Champions League? Apparently there was some interest from other clubs in Italy, in England. What do you know about the transfer rumors, and were you surprised to see him make this choice?
He wanted to play in the Champions League or the Premier League, or preferably both, but there weren't any Premier League clubs playing in the Champions League that were interested in him. There were links to Fulham and others, but they never really materialized in that aspect. And I think by the end of the window, it looked like he was okay. You know, there were offers, but he wanted to play at a higher level. And I think he considers the Greek league to be better than the Dutch league. And Olympiacos is a big club in Athens, and he wants they're in the Champions League. So I feel like that kind of just became a natural move in the end for him.
And I mean, obviously he's coming over here, and he's not guaranteed that starter spot up front, because he's going to be competing with Ayub El Kaabi, who's been a revelation for us, another late bloomer that was playing in Hatayspor in Turkey. Then there was the disaster in the town there. The team was broken up. He ended up playing in Qatar, and we got him on a free 2 seasons ago. And this guy's just turned out to be absolute magic. He was top scorer in the Conference League, top scorer in the Europa League last season. It's a different type of player, I think, from what little I've seen of Taremi. He's got a good touch. Like, he can turn on the ball and kind of create for himself. He's not just a poacher. He's, like you said, under Conceição turned into more of a complete striker. What do you make of the competition with El Kaabi, Yaremchuk at Olympiacos? Do you think that he's a player that can play in a formation with 2 strikers? on the same line? Can he drop back a bit and play a little bit as a quote unquote striker / number 10, second striker? What do you think?
Yeah, he can. He can drop deep. He did that a lot at Inter. Playing for Simone Inzaghi, you play a 3-5-2 with a two-man attack. And some would say, the point I made earlier about perhaps being a little bit too selfless. He wanted to make a lot of assists. He made assists for Arnautovic many times. Instead of shooting, he would pass. So he does want to create as well, but he's also comfortable scoring. Yeah, he's a penalty taker. Scored lots of penalties for the national team and for Porto. He's a complete striker. Yeah, I think the fact that he's not maybe an outspoken number one or a starter is something that I think he's used to, in the sense that when he came to Portugal, no one knew who he was, and then he became the top goal scorer of the league, and then he went to Porto and made that position his own, and then he became their best player and their most important player, and the focal point of Porto's attack, winning everything, top goal scorer again, and so on. So he has lots of he's very mentally strong, despite what happened in Inter. I think what happened in Inter last year was a bit of a perfect storm, and it kind of exploded in everyone's faces spectacularly against PSG in the final. Something that a collapse that I'd been warning about since January, that was coming, because Inter did not look like they normally did under Simone Inzaghi. They looked completely a spent force. Mentally and physically, and he was obviously part of that. It was a very special season. It's clear that if he's going to Olympiacos, it's for one reason and one reason only, and that is to play as much as he can so he can come to the World Cup next year with Iran, which will probably be his last World Cup, most likely will be his last World Cup for Iran. And he wants to come there fit and be able to deliver a historic result for Iran, which means going through to the knockout stages. I'd say there's hunger there, and I think he looks at the Greek league and looks at the Dutch league, and looking at the other smaller clubs in the Serie A, and he goes, no, I need to find my confidence again. I need to score. Italy is very, very tactical. It's as Carlos Tevez said, university for strikers, and he wants to show that he's not, he's got more, still something left in the tank. And I think going to Greece, where I think is a little bit more open, playing for a big club, he'll get more chances. And I think it's a calculated move. Obviously, being in the Champions League as well.
I mean, to be honest with you, just listening to that narrative now, I think we both agree, going to the Eredivisie and playing in the Netherlands, you're going to score goals. In Greece, it's tough. Like, people think that it's a walkover or a walk in the park for Olympiacos week in, week out, but we've played against teams that
defend deep. Yeah,
they park the bus. They play with two lines of defense just outside on the penalty box, and you're just working to break it down all game. And it's not the easiest for a striker.
No, of course, but I don't think, with all due respect to the Greek league, I think the Serie A is a little bit more difficult in that regard.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind. I'm very curious to see him in action. I've never seen the player play more than 90 minutes, so he's new to me. My friend Ari on the podcast is doing his scouting report, his deep dive, but I thought it would be fantastic opportunity to speak with you about the player coming from Inter, obviously being Iranian as well. You really were the perfect guy to speak to, and really appreciate your insights into the player. Is there anything else that you think is worth sharing with Olympiacos fans?
No, I think you're getting a player who's very hungry. He wants revenge for what happened at Inter, in the sense that I think he wants to redeem himself and show that he has still one or two good seasons, 3 seasons left in him, especially with a view to the World Cup. But again, he's a team player. He's not selfish. He doesn't create scandals. He doesn't create problems. It's all about the team. It's all about what the team needs. He doesn't have a big ego. That's just the kind of character he is on and off the pitch. He's always been like that in Iranian football, especially as well. He's a leader. He's one who likes the responsibility and leads by example. And it's not always important for him to be the man on the headlines as long as the team wins. And I think fans will appreciate that.
Sounds like a team player. Sounds like somebody the coach is going to love. I know that.
His coaches have loved him throughout his career, I must say. I mean, again, I think some of the most, the development he had under Conceição was truly remarkable. It was genuinely one of those, few times you see in football history where a player under a coach takes the next step and plays at a level that is just wow. Without any comparisons as to the level, because Romelu Lukaku under Antonio Conte for 2 seasons at Inter was one of the best number 9s in the world. Taremi was not was a top striker. He wasn't a top 3 striker under Conceição at Porto under any stretch of the imagination. But the way that Conceição was able to get the best out of him, to develop him, exactly like Conte developed Lukaku when they were together at Inter those 2 years, is an interesting one. There've been many managers who've gotten the best out of players, but Conte Lukaku for me might be the best duo of all time in terms of coaches and strikers. Lukaku has never played as well as he has under Conte. Even last season at Napoli, at this age, he looked better than he'd been for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I think it depends. I mean, what kind of system you play, what the coach asks of him.
Yeah. This is a question actually that I forgot to ask, and it's an important one from a tactical point of view. So you asked the question, how do we play? It's all about the press. Press traps up front. The press starts from the striker.
Yeah, he's a presser. He does it for Iran. He did it for Porto. He did it for Inter. He's done it in his career, so he's used to that.
Okay, that's perfect. And Jose Luis Mendilibar, our coach, is obviously he's a man that has earned the right to, say yes to players, say no to players. Over the years, Olympiacos have made a lot of marquee big name signings that didn't pan out. That's changed over the last couple of years. This one's very interesting. It came out of left field. It wasn't a name that was in the media all summer. It was there for like a week, 10 days after we played you in the friendly during August. And, we were waiting a couple of days. It was being reported that there have been talks, and I don't know if you've seen the statements that Taremi made to the Olympiacos YouTube channel, but apparently Karim Ansarifard was also around when he signed. So Ansarifard had some good things to say, obviously, about Olympiacos. He had a short stint with us, and he's not the first Iranian to play for us, right? It's Ansarifard. Haji Safi was another one. He was with us for a little bit. And interesting story. I don't know if you know this one. When Taremi was still in Persepolis, Panionios tried to sign him. When Panionios had Masoud, Haji Safi, and Ansarifard on their team.
Yeah.
But Taremi was considered a bit too expensive at the time, and he moved to Rio Ave. So it's not his first link to Greece again, but finally at age 33, he's making the move over. And another thing we noticed is that we picked up a lot of followers from Iran.
Yeah, I remember when he signed for Porto, a colleague of mine who covers Porto for one of the biggest Portuguese papers was blown away by how many new Iranians followed on Instagram. And the same thing happened at Inter. They gained like 1 million new followers in just a couple of days. Iranians are very, especially football. Iranians are generally very much active on social media, on Instagram and all this other stuff, on all these platforms, but Instagram particularly, and football fans in particular. I'm not surprised by that. It's not the first time that's happened.
Okay. Now, well, funnily enough, Olympiacos broke 1 million followers on Instagram.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. It's not the first time that's happened, and that's great, because I think he will be. I think Greece will, just life in Greece will be easier. He will find it easy there. I think he will enjoy life there, and I think he will get on just fine there. And I think being at a big club, having played for big clubs his entire career. I mean, Persepolis is one of the giant clubs in Iran. Inter is a giant club in European football. Porto is a European giant. He's used to playing for big clubs with lots of fans, passionate fans, crazy fans, demanding fans. So it's not new to him.
He's come to the right place.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think he will enjoy that. I think he's used to it. I think now he's got experience. The only setback he's had in his career was at Inter, which is unfortunate for me as an Iranian and Interista. But look, he's as I said, it's a special place. Inter Milan and Juve is special. Not everyone succeeds. I mean, take Roberto Baggio, fantastic at Juve, great at Inter, not so much at Milan, because him and Arrigo Sacchi didn't really see eye to eye. So do you know what I mean? And I'm not making any other comparisons between Baggio and Taremi. I'm just saying, Inter Milan and Juve is special. It's a special. These are special clubs, and not everyone can make it at any of them, and some of them can't even make it at all three.
Somebody in football told me recently, there's no such thing as the right or wrong player. It's the right or wrong player at the right or wrong time.
Exactly. Which makes someone like what Zlatan Ibrahimovic did, winning the Serie A with Inter, with Juve, with Milan, and being a protagonist at all three, so unbelievably unique. Because not even Baggio was able to do that. Yeah. Very simply put. Not even Vieri was able to do that. Vieri was a kid at Juve. He was a complete flop and finished when he was at Milan. He was unbelievable at Inter.
Yeah.
But Ibrahimovic was a reference point at Juve, at Inter, at Milan. And that is unique. Not many have. So my point is simply that Italy's a special place. Those three clubs, those three striped clubs of the north, are very special clubs.
And if you probably ask fans from those three clubs about Zlatan, I'm sure they'll say they love him to bits despite the rivalry.
Yeah, I mean he won Juve a Scudetto, 2 Scudetti on his own, essentially. The first one in particular. At Inter, you could say that without a doubt that he won Inter 3 Serie A titles on his own, without a doubt. And at Milan, they would never have won those 2 Serie A titles had it not been for Ibrahimovic.
A few last words from you on just plug your podcast, like where people can find you. How's your opportunity?
Yeah, cheers. Like I said, at ITA Foot Pod on all social media platforms. It's called the Italian Football Podcast. Check that out. We're on all. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes, Spotify, all those places, and social media on all the main ones: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Same handle everywhere, at ITA Foot Pod.
You'll find all of that information in the description below. How do you say thank you in Farsi?
It's actually the same as in French. Merci.
Merci. Okay, that's easy. Thank you very much, Nima, for coming on the show. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to give us a like. It costs you nothing, means everything to us, and subscribe to the show. For those following from Iran, or if you're Iranian, you're following from wherever in the world, we will be adding Iranian subtitles to this video and all our videos moving forward. Okay, thanks very much. See you next time, guys.